What a day, what a day, what a day, what a day. We already had today's episode up and out, full of content. And then the jury in Tom Girardi's criminal trial decided, boom, we're going to give you a verdict. And not only that, but Brittany Cartwright from the Valley, formerly of Vanderpump Rules, also said, you know what, guys, that's not enough news for today because I'm going to file for divorce from Jax Taylor. Let's get it. Woo. You're listening to No Filter with Zach Peter, your go-to source for all the latest pop culture and reality TV tea, served fresh all week long. Now, let's dive in. Okay, this is an emergency bonus episode of the podcast. So if anything, maybe we'll take maybe we'll take Wednesday off since we have this one. Well, actually, let's play our Girardi opening really quickly because now we're reaching the conclusion of the trial.
I was going to hold that man's hand till he died.
Disbarred LA attorney Tom Girardi.
Once portrayed as a man of power.
Tom Girardi is competent to stand trial.
He's facing charges of embezzling more than $15 million from his clients.
If convicted, the maximum sentence is 20 years in federal prison.
Everybody kept saying her lifestyle was funded off of all of these clients.
Yeah, that's easy to say. So was every other lawyer that worked there.
Boom. That's what I played, or that's what we played when we did the original recap, kind of talking about what's happened since 2020 up to 2024. And now we're at the tail end. Now, I guess to recap what happened in court today, the jury came in. It was very quick. Jury came in and already had a decision. So looks like they probably came to this decision yesterday, but probably collectively agreed, let's sleep on it and let's, make sure we're all on the same page come Tuesday morning. Here we are Tuesday morning. Well, it's now Tuesday afternoon and the jury is in. They have convicted Tom Girardi. He has been found guilty on all 4 counts of wire fraud. He's been found guilty on all 4 counts of wire fraud. Sorry, I apologize. I just realized I forgot my Invisalign at the studio. We just finished taping the Pop Report, and I rushed back over here as the verdict was coming in. But he's been found guilty. His sentencing is now set for December 6th, so we have a couple of months before that. He was not taken into custody. He will be staying in the assisted care facility until then. He's not much of a flight risk. He's likely not going to be going anywhere. But we will see what the judge ultimately sentences Tom Girardi to moving forward. Wow. Wowzas. What a wild day. Brittany Cartwright also filed for divorce from Jax Taylor, citing irreconcilable differences, which is interesting because he, from what I understand, has recently just gotten out of treatment. So it looks like going into treatment didn't really solve anything because she went to the courthouse today, Tuesday, filed for divorce, reported by TMZ. Crazy. But so the other thing too is with Tom Girardi, even though he has now completed his trial here in California, he will now be tried in Illinois. He does have a criminal trial in Illinois that is pending. I believe it's in March 2025, if I remember correctly. That's when his next trial is supposed to be. It's wild. So we went through this morning in today's our original Tuesday episode of the podcast, and we went through the criteria required for wire fraud. Let's see. Let's pull that back up again. Here we go. And so in order to prove that someone has committed wire fraud here in California, the defendant has to have intentionally created or participated in a scheme to defraud another person out of money or property. The defendant did so with the intent to defraud. It was reasonably foreseeable that the defendant would use interstate wire communications, and the defendant did in fact use interstate wire communications. So this is where it got a little dicey, right? Because the defense team argued that Tom Girardi was not the one that was committing the scheme. It was actually the CFO, Christopher Camone. And they said that Camone was the one that did all of this, and it was unbeknownst to Tom Girardi. They even tried to argue that of anybody, Tom Girardi lost the most amount of money in all of this. Well, it got kind of tricky because sorry, somebody trolling me with the coverage because obviously, we're all covering this stuff and we want to make sure that we're not stealing anybody else's content. But so anyway, long story short, tried to blame it on the CFO. And the part that got really interesting is through information that was provided by the detective at the IRS that investigated all of this, the investigator, it was shown that even though Tom Girardi did take the $15 million that he was alleged of stealing from these clients, on top of that, Tom Girardi was actually putting money back into the firm, right? This wasn't just their claim. This was proven using a witness that the prosecution brought forth. Robertson, I think was his name. He went through all the transactions and showed that, yes, it was true that Tom Girardi was actually putting the money back. Now, where he was getting that money from, TBD. Who knows where that money was coming from, where he had it. I don't know. Can't speak to where the money originated from, but it did show that even though he was taking money out of the Girardi case operating accounts and trust accounts, he was putting the money back into the operating accounts and back into the trust accounts, okay? So the argument was, well, then is he still technically guilty if he was putting the money back and he's claiming that unbeknownst to him, clients weren't getting their funds? Now, here's where we know that that is not true because we have voicemails and emails from Tom Girardi giving clients the runaround and trying to make up all of these fake excuses, such as I think there was one case, Judy Selberg, who she lost her husband in a boating accident, but I believe one of the reasons that he told her she wasn't getting her money was because there was a special tax that was unique to women, and he wanted to make sure that he consulted with one of his pals at the IRS to see if he can help her get around that specific tax that was only for women. The Rui Gomez family, who we know from the Housewife and the Hustler Hulu documentaries, they claim that Tom Girardi that he told them that the settlement was only for 5 million when it ended up being much greater than that. So he lied about how much was entitled to the Rui Gomez family. They've been battling him out in court for quite some time. So it's been an ever evolving, tangled web of lies, essentially. So whether or not he took the money and put the money back, the argument was, well, he still took the money and he still lied to his clients. Because I think the defense was really trying to say he put the money back, but Kimon was the one that was in charge of all of the money. And then they were trying to say, well, no, but Tom Girardi is the one that had, he had to sign off on the checks. He was the one, it was his signature that needed to be used because he was the only one with signing power. Then they said, well, no, actually, it was possible for Christopher Kimon to forge Tom's signature because he had a signature stamp. And so he could very easily just stamp the checks with Tom Girardi's signature on it. And from there, take the money, transfer the money, whatever. He was the one that was in charge of it. Okay. Amanda Bronstad from law.com just released her recap of what went down in court. We've been reading a few of her articles. I really like Amanda. She's good. Law.com, The Recorder from Amanda. So let's just recap her article. Very brief, very quick. Girardi found guilty on wire fraud by California jury. A federal judge in Los Angeles deliberated for less than 5 hours before issuing their verdict at about 11:30 a.m. Pacific. Tom Girardi, 85, was found guilty on 4 counts of wire fraud on Tuesday. A federal jury in Los Angeles deliberated for less than 5 hours, issuing their verdict at about 11:30 a.m. U.S. District Judge Josephine Staten of the Central District of California scheduled a sentencing hearing for December 6th. Girardi showed no emotion when the verdict was announced. Girardi, who founded Girardi Keys in 1965, was charged with stealing $15 million from 4 clients. His trial began on August 6th. Wild. Does anyone really believe that he didn't know what was going on? I don't believe he didn't know what was going on. But I did think that the defense did do a better job than I was expecting. He had public defenders, and even if you look at the public defenders, they look kind of young and naive and very unaware of like Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And here, there's a photo of the 3 of them. I'll show you. It was quite funny because they do look very young. There's a photo shared by Megan Cuniff, who is also a reporter. I don't know if you can see it clearly there. Well, let's see if we can. There we go. 3 young, strapping gentlemen. Well, Janelle, it is what it is. Here we are. We're finally at the tail end of it. So those were his public defenders. They did the best case that they could, saying he put the money back. Christopher Camone was able to forge the checks. They also had Christopher Camone's girlfriend come on the stand. That was probably the juiciest part of the testimony altogether, was when she was revealing she was getting a $20,000 allowance, and he gave her his whole plan, his whole plan of how, he was going to flee to the Bahamas, and he had a property there, and he was liquidating all of his assets here, and he wanted to open up a bank account in her name and put his money in her bank account. That way she could hold the money for him while he was overseas in the Bahamas. It was crazy. And she even went on, her own journey, going with him to the Bahamas, because she, I guess, saw the writing on the wall, and she was like, listen, I'm going to go with him to the Bahamas to find out where he actually lived. That way I can use this down the line. Mallory says, unfortunately, Tom Girardi is a scumbag, so his defense did all they could. They did the best that they could. And like I said, they did a better job than I was expecting. I was expecting them to totally fumble the ball, and they actually did better. There were moments where I was like, wow, that really makes me rethink things. And then I remember being like, is it possible that he really didn't know? And then I'm like, no, the evidence against him is too strong. But at the end of the day, that was their job, was to cast doubt in the jury's minds, to kind of muddy the waters and see where we were going to go from here. I wasn't confident that he was going to be found guilty on all 4 counts. Ultimately, he was found guilty on all 4 of those counts, but I'm curious what you guys think. The sentencing is set for December 6th. So what are your thoughts on how much time you think he will serve, if any? I believe it was a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison per count. There are 4 counts. I want to say he was charged with 4 counts of wire fraud and 1 count of contempt, but it appears I feel like there was a 5th charge, and I don't know what happened to that 5th charge, but it was apparently dropped going into the trial, or maybe I'm misremembering that, but I want to say that there were 5 charges. Maybe they weren't. I don't believe they were all wire fraud charges, though, but I believe in the original indictment there was a 5th charge, if my memory serves me correctly, or I may just be confusing it with the charges that were filed against him, the indictment against him in Illinois. Squinting Cat says, I believe Tom didn't know that the CFO was embezzling like he was. I agree. I think the CFO, because they did show that in the later years, Tom Girardi was experiencing some form of cognitive decline. I don't believe it was to the extent that his legal team was trying to argue, but he was getting up there, right? He was going to have a few loopy moments. And so I think that Camone, because as Camone's girlfriend testified in court, Camone's girlfriend said that, like, he knew that he was able to take advantage of Tom Girardi. So I think Girardi was probably running a scheme for a while, right? The law office was from 65? So the law office was around for a long time. And I'm sure he knew how to work the system and had been getting away with it for so long. And then Camone picked up on it. And Camone's like, well, if he's benefiting from this, why can't I? I'm running the books myself. It's very easy to kind of shuffle things around. And we would see that there were fake invoices that were being produced, that Camone would have one company provide a fake invoice so that he could pay money out to that company and then pull that money out as cash. But then it was also very strategic to not pull out more than $10,000, that the IRS wouldn't get notified about that. So it was wild. Trish says, how can he go to trial in Illinois if he's been sentenced? Will the judge move the date of when he needs to turn himself in? I believe he can still stand trial. I mean, he would maybe have to zoom in. I don't know how that's going to work, to be honest with you. But his trial in California is done, but he does still have a pending trial, criminal trial in Illinois, alongside David Lira, and I believe Christopher Camone's caught up in that one as well. And I believe there was an announcement recently that they were also planning to go after, like, Bob Finnerty, who was a partner at Girardi Keese, who was also part of one of the lending companies that was lending Tom Girardi these loans. Because remember, that was a big question as well, was like, how is he able to take out all of these high interest loans? Why do they keep approving him? How is he able to put collateral, which was the house, up on multiple loans? I believe there were 2 loans where he listed the house as collateral. And people are like, how was he able to get away with this? And it seems that he was possibly friends with some of the legal lenders. They were his buddies, and they were kind of just scratching each other's back. Laura says that company guy should get just as much time as Tom. Yeah. Yeah. So we shall see. And then Brittany Cartwright, like I said, filed for, well, let's see what TMZ. I mean, I got the brief on that, but let's see. Twitter is fired up. Calbroni Show Dog says, thank you, baby Jesus. Cody says, and Erika still hasn't been found guilty for squat. Love to see it. Jenna FA24 says Teresa and Louie next. Oof. Jan says that was fast and not surprising. He was found guilty on all counts. Now let's see his sentencing. Donna Lindsay says, oh, wow. JRK says, I thought that there was a Grim Reaper for a second. Yikes. I believe she's referring to the photo of Tom Girardi. Rudy says that was fast. Renee Glover says they cannot send this poor man to jail. So that's what's going to happen. It's uncertain whether or not he's going to be serving any jail time. It's possible he might not. We shall see. Long Island Lady says, now do Erika. So that's kind of what a lot of people are saying is, well, Erika next. I want to remind everybody, they've investigated Erika. Remember, attorney Ronald Richards was hired by the trustee to do a special investigation into Erika Girardi. Didn't find anything other than the $21 million that was covered in expenses for Erika. But Christopher Camone also took $53 million from Girardi Keys, which is well more than what Erika benefited. And on top of that, there were many people that were benefiting from all of this. So it seems like rather than going after the people that benefited from it, they're going after the people that were complicit and running this scheme. That's what they're doing, right? A lot of people benefited from it. Kimberly Archie benefited from it. She worked at Girardi Keys. I have yet to see her turn over a penny or even say she's going to voluntarily turn over a penny to pay the trustee. So yeah, there are a lot of people that benefited from this for sure. However, they're not the people that were running the scheme. Every lawyer, every employee of Girardi Keys technically benefited from the scheme. Are we going to go and pull back all of their pay stubs? Trish says, will Camone use the guilty verdict as his defense? Highly unlikely. I'm pretty sure Camone is going to probably try to cut some sort of a deal. Michelle says the man wouldn't even let Erika speak. Oh, that's right. On Real Houses of Beverly Hills. On what planet would he allow her to be part of his business finances? Yeah. I mean, and if there's anything we learned from Camone, it's you don't tell the girlfriend shit. She's going to go on the stand and sing like a canary when the gravy train runs dry. Pamela says Erika enjoyed the benefits of it, but it's unsure how much she knew. I don't think she knew anything, to be honest. I discussed that with Stuart and Keith, who were on the podcast, on YouTube yesterday, aired on the podcast this morning. And we talk about that. Like, she probably didn't know anything. I'm sure she knew. I've said this from the beginning. I'm sure she knew that maybe Tom Girardi wasn't the most savory man, that I'm sure, he knew how to flex his influence with, judges and other attorneys and whatnot. But she knew he was powerful and she knew he was wealthy. But I don't think she had any reason to question what was going on. I think when she did question it, which she said, she's like, when she started getting named in lawsuits, she would ask him, what is this about? Why am I named? And he wouldn't give her answers. He'd be like, don't worry, I'm taking care of it. Or don't worry, that's been resolved and they've since apologized, right? Like those were the excuses that were being given. So yeah. Mallory says, if you go after Erika, you would open the door to all the other side characters that benefited. All the employees, all the wives, everybody would then, that received any pennies from Girardi Keys would then be pulled into question, right? So it's highly unlikely that anything's going to happen to Erika through all of these criminal proceedings because they haven't been able to tie anything to her. Again, they did a whole special investigation into Erika back in 2021. We're in 2024. Where we there's nothing. It's been 4 years with nothing. So Ronald Richards was hired specifically to investigate her and found nothing. So which news is more shocking to you, Jax and Brittany or Girardi? I feel like they were both kind of like inevitable. Um, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Don't know. We shall see. Oh, Stuart's here in the live chat right now. Keith called it. He said the jury would come back just before lunch today with the guilty verdict. Keith was right. I mean, just before lunch. I think that's kind of what I figured too by lunchtime when it came, because we just finished taping the pop report and I had just wrapped up and I was chatting with my manager because Andy had to run out early and run to the airport. But I was chatting with my manager and I'm like, I'm so surprised that the jury has not come back with a verdict yet. I go, this is kind of crazy that they're taking this long. I did not expect it. I did not see it ending this way, as Erika said on the show. And then and I said those words, walked out of the studio, walked into the parking lot, and then immediately, boom, jury's decision is in, verdict is in. And then as my manager was walking away, I yelled up to him like, David, the verdict's in. And he's like, it's in now? He's like, what is it? I was like, I don't know. They just determined. I was like, I got to get in my Uber. So it was wild. Wild, wild, wild. Doris Chi says, I really thought the public defender's argument about Tom putting the money back would get off some of the charges. I thought that was an interesting point because they can say, well, he took the money, but he put the money back, right? So then it really does fall on Kimon, who was running the books, because he was the one in charge of the finances. And it made sense because he had the stamp that had the signature on it, so he could sign on Tom's behalf. But ultimately it came down to the scheme, right? And the scheme was he deliberately deceiving these clients and taking their money to benefit from them and intentionally taking the money to benefit off of them and then lying to them, right? There's the intention and then there's the deception. There are all these elements in order to be found guilty. And unfortunately, his own emails and his own voicemails were what came back to bite him the most, right? That's what really came back to get him, is because that showed that he, like, the woman's tax, that's not a real thing. So if he's lying to a client, even though the funds had already been received at Girardi Keys, but he's saying the funds had not been received, or I don't have the judge's permission, I don't have the judge signing off on this, so you can't get your settlement yet. I mean, it shows that this was a scheme. Laura says, I think all the runarounds and lies were what really did him in. Yeah, that's what proved that he was aware of the scheme and he was deliberately defrauding these clients because he was lying to them, all while knowing that the money had been received. Mallory says, Girardi, Jen Shaw, Elizabeth Holmes. It's been quiet. We've had quite a few cases. Miss Foxy says, horrible, greedy person and a con man. Well, but here's the other thing. I'm pretty sure he's going to appeal it, and I'm pretty sure he's going to say that his defense, this is my prediction now, throwing it on the table, pretty sure there will be an appeal, and he will say that his defense, he was prejudiced by his defense. His defense didn't do it, because even when he was on trial, the attorney asked him, do you know who I am? And he says, I don't know. He's like, do you know my name? He's like, I don't know. Bad, terrible, and he was naming these adjectives to describe his attorney. Mean. So that already, under oath, he was saying that his attorney was mean and his attorney was bad and his attorney was terrible. So I'm pretty sure there will be allegations of, his attorney not serving him or abusing him in some way. Like, we're going to twist all of this. He's going to fight this until the end. He's going to fight this until, I don't think he's going to prison. He's going to be sentenced. He will, appeal it as much as he possibly can. But I don't think we'll see him behind bars. I think he's going to use every trick in the book to prevent himself from serving any time behind bars. He knows the game better than anybody else. And I don't think he's going to give up now. But hopefully this can provide some sort of resolve for the clients. I mean, the important thing is that they get their money. That's now in the hands of the trustee. And the trustee has been working on that, liquidating assets, settling cases, reaching settlements with clients. So, yeah. Do you think he'll repeat himself at the next trial? Probably. Michelle, how will keep stalling until he's 6 feet under? Yeah, I think that's what he's banking on, is that he's going to be able to stall and delay this until he officially passes away and doesn't have to deal with it anymore. And then it's, everybody else's problem at that point. So there we are. Well, Janelle, 'tis what 'tis. Trish said, controversial, but I don't think jail is what should happen to him. Elderly care with less freedom seems more humane. Well, lots of people would argue, why should we treat him humanely when he was so, he didn't treat his clients with that same level of respect? It's not my argument, but that is what some people are arguing right now. Bobby Caddis says, what's up, Zach? Love what you do, buddy. Looking fantastic. Keep it up. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Bobby. Mallory says he should settle at this point. Settle with what? Settle with who? Just like accept that he's guilty? I don't think he's going to do that. He's going to fight it till the end. Laura says definitely no bingo privileges. Yeah, I don't think he deserves any bingo privileges at this point. I mean, what is punishment at this point? I mean, he's already lost everything. So I don't know what would be considered a fitting punishment other than really putting him behind bars. It's not like they're going to order him to pay anything. He has no access to his finances anymore at this point. Like all of his finances, all of his properties have been liquidated or in the process of being liquidated. All of that money is being used to pay off all of his debts. His debts were estimated to be over $500 million in, people that were claiming that they were owed money by Tom Girardi. So I don't know. Jasmine says, with my baby sleeping in my arms, I love watching you. Zach. Oh, thank you, Jasmine. I appreciate that. Lexi says, I'm just getting in. Did I miss what Brittany did? Brittany Cartwright filed for divorce from Jax Taylor. Cited irreconcilable differences. Actually, let's review that next. No free space on his bingo card, Robin says. Michelle says he can go to the judge. He can go judge the beauty pageant at Jen Shah's prison. Remember that? That was wild. The photos came out of Jen Shah in prison doing her Barbie beauty pageant. That was wild. Okay, let's go to TMZ and let's read what is going on. Let's read what's going on with Jax and Brittany. TMZ is reporting Brittany Cartwright is dropping the curtain on her marriage. She just filed for divorce from Jax Taylor. The Vanderpump Rules alum and the Valley star beelined it into court and filed divorce after 5 years of marriage, according to new legal docs obtained by TMZ. In the docs, Brittany is going with irreconcilable differences as the reason for the split. The estranged couple previously announced their separation in February, and Brittany lists the date of separation as January 24th, 2024. Brittany and Jax have one child together, their 3-year-old son, Cruz. Brittany is seeking primary and physical custody, but is open to visitation for Jax. Wow, she's only giving him visitation. She's going hard. Brittany also wants to block the ability of the court to award spousal support to either of them. Okay, so she says, I don't want money from him, but I'm not giving him money either. Brittany's divorce filing comes after Jax left the treatment center and returned to work on his Bravo reality show, The Valley. TMZ broke the story. Jax decided he needed inpatient treatment for his mental health issues in wake of his separation from Brittany. Brittany and Jax started dating back in 2015. They got engaged in June 2018. And in June 2019, they tied the knot at the Kentucky Castle in Versailles, Kentucky. They went through a lot together on Vanderpump Rules before they had a number of marital challenges documented on season 1 of The Valley, and now they're going through a divorce. We reached out to a rep for Jax. They had no comment. Wow. So, seeking custody, primary and physical custody of Cruz. She's not paying Jax anything, and she's saying that she doesn't want Jax to pay her anything. Good for her. Casey said, I love that all of this is happening during filming. I know. Stevie says, now that she filed, all the women he probably cheated with are going to come out. Laura said, did he leave against doctor's advice? I wonder. He wasn't home long. I don't know. Remember, there were reports that he was likely going to be fired, and then next thing you know, it's like, boom, nope, he's coming out. Mallory says, oh my God, the Trinity Oracle sisters were on Ryan Bailey's podcast earlier this month, and they predicted that she would file for custody. Well, here we are. Allie says she's a queen. Lexi says, kind of feel like she saved the divorce announcement for filming. Probably. Well, I'm sure it's all playing out on camera, right? The Valley is going to be so good. The Valley is going to be wild this season. That's for damn sure. Okay. I think that's all I have for you guys. We covered everything. There's not much more. There's not much more to recap. Any final questions or closing thoughts before we wrap? Ooh. Bada boom, bada bang. Ka-chang, chang. Chang, chang, chang. Chain. Boo. Rach Ryan 194 says his public defenders may have had some help. Possibly. Ruth Johansson says, I agree, sir. It's definitely a prison in itself. I'm a caregiver for my mom with dementia. She definitely has lucid moments, but for the most part, she's not there. Long-term memory still exists. Yeah. So it seems like he has short-term memory loss, but a lot of the long-term memory he still has. Danielle says, ha, that was a misspelling by the phone. Pamela says, thank you, Zach, and all. Much love. Dina Jacob says, I feel sorry for Brittany and Jax's family. Patricia says, Brittany deserves better. Danny Gossip Gal says, yes, they said Britt would file for custody, but after he opens up a second bar, that with made in the audience, that would mad in the audience. Mallory says, did Jax pull a Luann and leave 15 days early? Yeah, he had a cabaret show. Bobby says Brittany should have never moved out of her home with her child. Kick his ass out. I don't think he was willing to leave, though, is the issue. So, and I just don't think she wanted to put up with him anymore. I think she was like, I'm done. Like, I'm not going to wait around for you. I'm not going to, like, I'm done. Done. All right. That's all she wrote, guys. Ooh, money can't buy your nose. Say what? Patricia says, Zach, your skin is looking amazing. Thank you. I appreciate that. Jasmine says, Britt deserved to be able to be happy and not worry about Jax's antics. Pamela says, legally get him removed. Yeah, I mean, but that would take time and you would have to live with him. She should be stuck in a situation like Ariana was. Ooh. Well, okay. It is now 12:40. I haven't eaten a thing today. Been up since 4, kind of lingered until like 5:30, and then finally was like, all right, gots to get out of bed and get going. So I am starving. Joey says Erika didn't commit any crimes. No one's after Jen Shah's husband, so why go after Erika? And that's a great point, Joey. Rach Ryan says Girardi's public defenders may have had some help. For example, advice from a once highly rated attorney that no longer practices. Possibly, yeah. Pamela says that's true. Love you, Zach. Lee doing what you do. Laura says Zach is going to bed at 7 tonight. Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm ready for a drink. To be honest, I still have some other content that I have to tape for the pop report, but whew. Ay. Okay. That's all I got for you. Thank you for tuning in. I love you. I appreciate you. Kat says, I believe Jax cheated multiple times. Probably, possibly. Who knows? Would not be surprised at all. But if you are listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, be sure to subscribe, follow, stay up to date with all the latest. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that like button. hit the subscribe button. That way you're always up to date. We have more to come. We have the Rachel Leviss, Tom Sandoval lawsuit that's going to be, unfolding. We're going to, whatever new scandals come our way, I will continue to cover here on No Filter. And you can always get the latest reality TV tea on the Pop Report, which is available on all podcast platforms, also available to subscribe to on YouTube. So go support the Pop Report, support No Filter. You can also binge the first 2 seasons of Disaster Daters. All episodes are now available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, now available on YouTube. So you can watch and tune into all of our episodes of Disaster Daters now. It's a really funny dating podcast where we recap some of our stories, some of your stories, and we just have quite the good time. So thank you guys. I love you. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Maybe we won't do a Wednesday episode since we doubled up. I feel like we did 3 episodes back to back. Well, 4 episodes, Monday and Tuesday. I feel like we've taped like 4 episodes plus the Pop Report. So yeah, we'll see. All right. I love you. I appreciate you. Have a good one. Ciao for now. If any breaking news happens, we will definitely have a Wednesday episode. But right now, we may take a little pause. All right. Ciao for now.